African Day?
Yes, sir.
Good.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Sorry?
Sir, today all our guests are from Ghana. All of them are from Ghana. And some of them have been here for a long time, but others have arrived recently. I will start from my immediate right. And Al-Hajj Ibrahim Ata Apu has been here for a number of years. He used to work for Ghanaian Airlines and currently runs his own business in airlines in the United Kingdom.
But now he intends to return to his country?
I wasn't aware of that. So
Do you intend to return to your country now?
To return back to my country?
Return to your country?
Yeah.
When?
Well, in fact, because of the family, everything, I've set up also here doing my own business. However, I still have in mind of going back when the time comes, inshallah.
we have Mr. Sadiq Boating, who has been in this country now for 20 years.
20 years,
mashallah, that's right. And
I must pay him compliment for hiding himself so perfectly.
next to Sadiq Boating, we have Suleiman Hassan Atta. Suleiman is the son of the late Al-Hajj Hassan Atta, and he did his education in the United Kingdom and currently works for an American company here. And next to him we have Imran Shams. Imran has only recently arrived from Ghana, and we're brothers indeed, that's right. And Imran studied business and agriculture in Ghana and has just arrived recently and started working here. And he started working here, yes. And then we have Ahmed Alahuddin, who came to London in 1990. He is currently studying here and is doing City and Guild engineering.
And also working.
That's right, also working.
Himself.
That's right, indeed.
Very upright person, I know.
Indeed. And he's also the Qaid of Lambeth. So these are our guests today, sir. So if I could request Al-Hajj to please start.
Please, I just want to ask you regarding our way of starting our Eid, like a Ramadan festival. It appears since for many years now, we have never started with our brother Muslims exact date for the starting of Ramadan, and also we don't end also the festival Eid Fitr with them when the moon is.
Do your brother Muslims do it together?
And that way, no,
with each other?
Some of the Muslims, like non-Ahmadis, will do it.
I'm talking of the same. Do your non-Ahmadi Muslims, do you find non-Ahmadi Muslims united in their view of when it should begin and when it should not?
No, I don't find them that too.
They are not united in this?
No, I don't think so, because some events start earlier, some events...
Why are you comparing us with them?
No, what I'm just referring is that I'm not comparing even to them, but I'm only referring the sort of the sadness of the moon. Sometimes you see that the moon is...
I'll explain. The question should not have been with reference to anybody.
Okay, thank you.
The question is a scientific and religious question.
Okay.
Which should be dealt with on its own merits.
Okay.
We have discovered two things.
Okay.
Number one, according to the Quranic verses, the moon has to be sightable when you can declare the appearance of new moon. It may not have been sighted by most people, but the proof that it is sightable lies in the fact that at least 2 reliable persons or 4 reliable persons should have sighted it and given their witness on oath. This means sightability of the moon. If the moon is not sightable, not a single person can declare that he has seen the moon. You understand?
Yes, please.
So, man shahada minkum is the word shahada, which is applicable to this situation. Whenever Ramadan begins or moon is to be cited for other occasions, whether it's Ramadan or any other occasion, then this is the issue, citability. You understand?
Yes, please.
Now, when the moon is not cited, but it is citable, how can you determine that? Now comes the question of science. The scientists tell us that even if the moon is not sighted because of clouds and bad weather, it is possible to determine that if the bad weather did not exist, it could be sighted. See? So we have adopted this course. When the scientists declare that the new moon has risen, which is also sightable, then we consider it to be similar to a statement that we have sighted the moon. Because if the bad weather had not existed, that moon could or must have been sighted by some at least. Understand?
Yes, please.
So we inquire from observatories who know the science, not that when the moon has risen above the horizon of the earth. We do not inquire about that. We only inquire whether according to their calculations, that new moon has appeared, which could be seen with naked eyes. Right?
Yes, Mr.
When they say yes, that is the date for that moon, then we calculate accordingly and declare the Eid or the new month to have begun.
Please connect us.
Huh?
Well, as you just said earlier, that if it also is witnessed by two or one or two people that they've seen the sightness of the moon, we can celebrate the Eid. Okay. Now, say for instance, if from other country, it's not from UK,
the other country are irrelevant.
Sees the moon and they found here that
No, they're irrelevant, because the moon has to be sightable in the country where you belong.
Okay, now
Yes?
Yes. Okay.
Thanks.
My question is regarding diseases. Are there always cures for every disease that man may encounter?
Possibly. Yes.
Thanks,
What is the current state of affairs in Pakistan regarding our brothers and sisters? Regarding our brothers and sisters, the Ahmadis in Pakistan.
The same state as it existed has not changed. If at all, it has worsened. Please.
We Ahmadis know we are telling the other non-Ahmadis and other faiths the truth about religion. But what is preventing the other Muslims from accepting it? They know that you are telling them the truth, but they refuse to take it.
He's asking that we are telling the other Ahmadis the truth about Ahmadiyyat. What is stopping them from us accepting the truth about Ahmadiyyat?
Still can't understand.
Is that when we convey the message of Islam, we are presenting the truth. So what stops the other people to accepting it?
But he said to Ahmadis.
To non-Ahmadis. To non-Ahmadis, sir.
That's right. I was perplexed.
Non-Ahmadis.
You said that thing, but
That's right. That's right. Non-Ahmadis.
Non-Ahmadis.
Non-Ahmadis, sir.
When you tell the truth of Ahmadiyya to non-Ahmadis, they do not accept it. Correct?
Yes.
But do you defeat them in arguments?
Yes.
Still they do not accept?
At times they accept it.
So, at times when they accept it, they become Ahmadis.
They don't.
They accept the truth but do not become Ahmadis.
Yes.
That means they are not seriously interested in religion at all. Leave them alone. Because in their eyes, materialism stands superior to religion. If they have to run the risk of material losses by accepting any truth, they would rather prefer to save the material losses and forego the acceptance of truth. So they are ill within. The attitude is distorted. You know, this is why.
Yeah.
The same happens about the acceptance of Islam and the acceptance, the same happens in the case of acceptance of the arguments in favor of Islam, and on the other hand, acceptance of Islam itself. Many visitors come here in this session of English speaking people, very scholarly people, they agree fully with the philosophy of Islamic teaching when I describe them and remove their doubts. They nod their heads, they express openly, but they do not become Muslims. That is the difference. Because they cannot leave their world alone and cannot suffer the material losses at the cost of accepting some truth. Right?
Yesterday there was a documentary about Israel. Documentary about Israel,
Right.
the establishment of Israel state. My question is, the Jewish people have believed that they are the chosen people. Where did they derive this belief?
Among other things, the Holy Quran also states the same thing. The Old Testament is full of these references. The Holy Quran also states the same thing. The Jews were the chosen people of Allah, but not chosen to rule the entire world, while Islam had already appeared. No such statement will be found in the Quran. Chosen people till the age of Islam had dawned. During that past, there is no other people in the world which was so specially mentioned by the Holy Quran, by the divine books, as to have received special beneficence of Allah in the potentials they held, in their knowledge, in their domination of arts and things, sciences, etc. This is the sum total of what the Quran relates. In every field they excelled, with the result that David claimed that they are fit to rule. So this promise of David is also mentioned in the Holy Quran. But fit to rule till what time? Till the time of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. After that, their era ends and a completely new era begins. But they are intruding into the new era without justification, without right. The same story is reflected in Surah Al-Kahf, where Moses, along with his follower, moves into the era of Islam without any right or justification. Then he arises and tells his companion to return to the place where they had left their teachings. So it's a very interesting episode in the Holy Quran which throws in the light of the same subject which I am describing here. They would not have any right to intrude into the era of Islam, yet they would. This is exactly what we find today. Understand?
Yeah.
It's your question, huh? Yes, sir. Sorry.
Assalamu alaikum, Huzur.
But Mr. I look at your brother when I was listening. Right.
My question relates to the question asked by the last but one, second but one questioner.
Which one?
About
his question?
Last time I was in Ghana, I'm in some parts of Sorkon. We have a place we call Zongo. That is where mostly the non-Ahmadis are concentrated.
Zongo.
Zongo, yeah. I had to do one or two business with one of them. So I went to his residence, and another person there, some conversation ensued, and one of them asked him, that particular person, in another language which I don't understand. That is in Hausa language, a predominant language in West Africa. Then later he turned his attention to me.
In the north of West Africa?
Mostly in West Africa.
In the north of West Africa?
In the West Africa, it's predominant in West Africa.
Hausa? Not in the south?
But south also is spoken now.
Is it right?
Yes.
Is it predominant in the south as well?
In Nigeria rather.
No. It's an international language.
What I mean to say is, according to my previous understanding, Hausa was predominant in the north of Nigeria, Hausa was predominant in the north of Ghana, and also in the north of some other Western African countries, but not predominant in the south of these countries.
Yes, not predominant in the south, but it's now spoken in radio
Ghana.
Ghana.
Is different thing altogether.
It's spoken in radio Ghana.
I agree, but still it is not predominant among the people of the south.
Yes, I understand that.
Correct, yes, please.
Okay. Then later he turned his attention to me and said, tell him what I said. That is, he was asking him, in another language of my,
which you couldn't understand.
Yes. And he was asking him, telling him to tell me that what he said was that he was asking him if the Messiah, promised Messiah, if the promised Messiah has not come. Then this other person, who is not an Ahmadi, confirmed to him that the promised Messiah has come.
See, right.
And what I found in his room, in his lounge, was a calendar, one of those Ahmadiyya Muslim calendars,
right,
which has promised Messiah's picture on it.
Right.
My question is, people like that have accepted the promised Messiah has come, but they are not coming to the fold of Ahmadiyya. How does God perceive such people?
Ask him.
In their hearts they have
asked me. I can't play God.
Yeah, what I mean is, what is the difficulty?
Allah knows the limitations of His servants, and He is the best judge. So at least they have come one step forward in agreeing with the truth of the promised Messiah. If they are unable to take the second step, it is there that the perplexity begins. And I consider them much better than those who deny the truth of Masih Maud al-Islam. So leave them to Allah. Allah will decide why, what were their limitations, why could they not take the next step forward. Was it your question?
Yes.
That's right. This is all right then.
Well, in fact, as we just had this, this not just happened to me, which in fact is reflect, but still different. And that is, we've got a lovely book like Holy Quran, where the Almighty Allah has explained things clear for we Muslims. But it appears that go back to where our Prophet Muhammad land. It appears there are many every now and then differences among the Muslims fighting here and there. That they are not trying to use the Quran to settle their peace. So my question just comes out just now that how are we going to solve these our brothers over, especially I wouldn't go further, but I think we all know like Kuwait and the Iraq war that happened recently, which in fact I think still there's no peace among this place. How in this sort of peace are we going to have it among the Muslims to solve it rather than calling everywhere, the whole world, to go there before they come on you think of having the peace or stopping sort of action?
We just can't. What we can do and we are doing is the enrollment of non-Ahmadi Muslims and non-Muslims into the fold of Ahmadiyyat, where they will find peace. Unless they are ready to join Ahmadiyyat, there can be no peace for them.
It's true.
That's right.
I understand, Huzur.
Yes.
May Allah bless you.
Please.
Huzur, my question is, we often hear about faith healers and mullahs dispossessing of evil spirits from people. Could Huzur kindly shed some light on such beliefs?
Most of the faith healers found in African countries and Far East are professional frauds. They deceive others and decamp with their money in the name of faith healing. Most of these people I have studied with the help of some researchers who went into these countries and studied things in detail, are committed fraud people, committed fraudulent people. They know it that they are frauds. They deceive others. And they benefit or exploit the benefit from the ignorance or exploit the ignorance of common masses. So it is the true teachings which is required and enlightenment which we need. Leave them alone. They will flourish only on rotten soil. What we should care about is the soil itself on which they flourish. Without improving the quality of the soil, we cannot do anything about them. So, public education is what we need. And that is what I have been telling, particularly Ghanaians, that they should go to the masses and tell them, for God's sake, don't lose your money and your property for the sake of imaginary healing. Go to the proper hospitals. And the simple argument you should build there is this, that you should tell them, why does not the government of Ghana employ these spiritual healers and open new sorts of hospitals where all Ghanaians would go and benefit from this spiritual healing? Not a single spiritual healer is employed by the sensible government of Ghana in any hospital. Or are they? No. Why not? Because at that level they know they are just frauds. Otherwise the hospitals should begin to disappear. Why go for extremely costly machinery, extremely costly analytical, electrical devices and all the apparatus which goes with it to determine the nature of disease and this and that, and then begin after the diagnosis, begin the treatment, which is very costly most often. So a lot of load on your economy in material health will be lifted. There will be no hospitals needed, just a room where a spiritual healer will be sitting. And a long queue outside of patients who will come from one end and go to from the other and show the world, yes, we are healed. Is it right or wrong?
Yes, it's fine.
This is what we need.
Thank you, sir. Excuse me, my next question is life after death. What happens to a man after he dies? The body.
The man's body is interred, or disintegrated, I should say, and dust to dust, and what else do you say?
Dust to dust.
Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. This is what happens to his body.
That's right.
I was reading a book I had from a friend. When I came to the London Knox, I was looking for the book. I couldn't find it. And then I read a little bit about it. It's telling about when a man dies, like the two angels come to him, and then they come and tell him they've been sent to come and before he dies to take the soul, and then when after he's been buried, the soul is brought back to him, and then they
go back to him again.
Yes, the soul is there when after he's been buried. Then they tell him, right, today your business in the world is finished.
This is a complete misunderstanding of some traditions of the Holy Prophet. We speak on this subject. The Holy Prophet refers not to the physical graves and physical bodies buried therein. The Holy Prophet refers to a period, interim period after the person has given up his ghost, and the time between that point in time and the time when he will be re-raised. So the soul delivered by the human body never returns to the same body again. This is very clearly mentioned in the Holy Quran in so many verses that once departed, the soul will never enter the same body again. The only thing possible is to maintain a sort of link with that body. Like you like your home where you have lived for many years, and even when you sell it out, many times you have a desire, a craving to go and have a look at the same home. Don't you? It's common human psyche. So similarly, the soul has the same psyche. It likes to have some sort of touch with the body which contained it, which nourished it. And that is also what is mentioned by the Holy Prophet ﷺ in case of what happens in the grave. And that is again what Hazrat Masih Maud has explained. While praying over some graves, he witnessed as though the soul had returned, the soul of the departed person, and he could speak with the soul. But he never means that the real soul does come there. If you read Masih carefully, the only thing you can infer from that description is that while standing over the grave, the mind of the person who is praying comes into touch with the soul which has departed. And this is a spiritual communication system in which the soul does not have to come back, but Allah has some communication system between the dead and the living. And that communication system also is activated during dreams sometimes. And there are signs in the dreams that the communication was right because things are revealed which were not known by the person who saw the dream. See? So understand the whole phenomenon of this intercommunication between the dead and the living. Then you can understand the link of the souls with the bodies or the graves. That is a completely different story than what you find mentioned in some hadiths, that the windows are open in the graves of the dead people, both from the heaven and from the hell. I think this is what you are referring to. Open any grave, dig it up, you will not find any window in any direction, except those holes which are dug by rodents, and they are not opening either in the direction of hell or in the direction of heaven. It just happened everywhere in case of every dead. So our Rasulullah could not have referred to this. He must have referred to a spiritual experience. He must have meant that when a person dies and his soul is delivered, even before its maturity, at the time, till the time of resurrection, it has a vague sense of whether it will be punished or rewarded. That vague sense itself, in itself, keeps it either disturbed subconsciously or happy with the so-called breeze from heaven. No actual breeze comes, but the soul is happier, and the soul of the hell-bound people is in pain. If you want to understand this phenomenon, you should study what happens in the uterus of a mother who has still not given birth to a child. If the child is ill and deformed, the doctors tell us that the child is unhappy even before it is delivered. If the child is healthy and strong and kicking, then he is evidently happy even before his birth. So similar is the case of the souls and the graves, the so-called graves. It's called Alam Barzakh in Islamic terminology. Are you answered?
Yes.
Right. Please.
About celebration of the Eid Adha.
Huh?
Celebration of the Eid Adha. I think we mostly celebrate it after a day after those of Saudi, those who have performed the Hajj. But since this year we did not follow in that order. They celebrated, other people celebrated their own before we had ours. Sorry.
As far as we are concerned, we go by the sighting of the moon and count the days afterwards and celebrate the Eid al-Adha on the 10th. This is the best we can do. Otherwise, it is impossible to keep celebrate Eid al-Adha in accordance with the Saudian people during the end of the Hajj. Again, it should be noted that there is no Eid al-Adha celebrated on the 10th day of Hajj. We outsiders do that, but they follow only rituals and things, and there is no such thing as Eid al-Adha which is celebrated there. But we follow the tradition of Hazrat Ibrahim ﷺ, and what happened in the end, there were sacrifices. So we call that act of sacrifices of animals as Eid Day. And during the Eid and the following day and the following day, there are 3 days to that Eid, we offer sacrifices. It is impossible to do it on the same days of sacrifices in Saudi Arabia. It's not possible. Geographically, it is not possible. So if you follow their dates, it will so happen that in some countries you will be celebrating the Eid 2 days before it was to be celebrated in Mecca. And in some countries it will so happen that you will be celebrating the Eid a day or 2 after it has been celebrated in Mecca. So it's impossible. Geographically, it is an enigma, is a dilemma which cannot be solved. So the best thing is to accept your defeat and follow the sighting of the moon, which is mentioned as essential in the Holy Quran. That is exactly what we do. Got it? Good. This question was asked previously, and my answer to that also applies to this. This question of yours. Huh?
So my second question is, when women reach their menstruation period, are they allowed? Sorry, I should have sent that mic to my mouth to be recorded. I'm sorry. I have to restart.
Please.
My question is about when women reach their menstruation period, are they allowed to go into the masjid?
When the women have the menstruation period, are they allowed to go?
No, they shouldn't.
They shouldn't.
Please.
Last night,
Even ordinarily they don't go. Some pious ladies, many young pious ladies, daily come for the prayer to be said in the mosque 5 times a day, from the morning till evening prayers. But it is not obligatory upon them. They do it voluntarily. So, when you do something voluntarily, if you miss that voluntary practice for a day or 2 or 5 days, nobody notices them especially. But if it was compulsory, then everybody will notice that such and such ladies and so ladies are menstruating. It's very embarrassing, isn't it? So the Holy Quran is so beautiful. Islamic teaching is so wonderful. It has not made the attendance of prayer in the mosque compulsory upon ladies. See? So if their menstrual period, they are given free leave, not to come to the mosque because it is already voluntary. It is not compulsory. You've got an answer? Yes. Right.
please, in Ghana, we have got cultural festivals. I mean, mostly in the south, and
cultural festivals.
It has come to times where I think they have been told, or they are told, or we tell them that these festivals are not good according to Islam.
Yes.
Which
then
I mean, it's something they have interest in. I mean, they do enjoy their festivals, you know. So
most of the world enjoys bad things, doesn't it? So let them enjoy.
Oh, yeah. Because that is why I'm asking that. I mean, we are trying to get them. I mean, these people to, to join us. But because of that, they find it difficult to join us.
Then they will have to abandon their festivals. Is that what you mean?
Yes, I mean
for which they are not ready.
Whether good or bad, whether the festivals are good or bad,
they are not going to abandon them.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes, they are not going to
can't do
abandon
anything
them.
about it. Why to tell them they are bad? Even when you tell them and convince them they are bad, they are not going to abandon them. So why go through this meaningless effort? Futile attempt. Huh?
Yeah, but there's one question that is related to that. Chieftaincy. I mean, chieftaincy is related to, some of these festivals there. And I remember when we were young, we were told that Ahmadis don't have to accept that position.
You see, if a chieftain becomes an Ahmadi, he is bound to deliver his responsibility to the people of his chieftaincy according to their traditions. He must not try to change the traditions because he has been chosen as a chieftain. Chieftaincy means the leadership of all the traditions which the people of that area have inherited. So if he happens to be an Ahmadi, he may not participate in those functions, but he must let others do the same and participate in the functions and help them traditionally as the chiefs have always been helping them. But if a practice, you may call it social, is against a religious injunction, clearly it defies the religious injunction of the Quran, then chieftaincy or no chieftaincy, no Ahmadi is permitted to participate in these things. If that is a choice, if a chieftain is confronted with this choice, either you remain chief of our area or follow even those practices which are against your conscience and against your religious teaching, the chieftain, if he is an Ahmadi, is left with no choice but to resign. Right?
Yes. Yeah, but at the same time, can one or an Ahmadi accept chieftaincy and defy some of their practices?
I think you already answered the...
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, I already answered it. And you already answered it.
I see.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Next.
Well, in fact, most of my questions have been answered already by
Very
Wusu.
good.
It seems sometimes we have to ask also, because at times it happens, especially back home, where the necessity comes for a Muslim to eat a food which perhaps might not be halal. And this has happened before, whilst I was there some time ago. And, the person who could, because those people were strangers, they were Muslims, mother with the children. And then when they entered the place, that time, that woman also is a Christian and has got a food, but that was slaughtered, a chicken which was slaughtered by that woman as a Christian. And so the mother with the 5 children that they went there were finding it difficult.
Would it make any difference to the question if the mother had 6 children instead of 5?
Sorry.
You said mother with 5 children.
No, not 5 children. A woman with 2 children that they went.
2 or 3 or 5?
That's another. So they were finding difficult because of halal and because it's not so it happened that one said that once he's a Christian and has slaughtered this meat, I think there's no problem for.
Why don't you straightforwardly inquire from them? The food offer, what is the nature of the food offered to them, offered to you, if you are a guest? Inquire from them, how did you cook it, what have you cooked, and when she explains, then it gives you an opportunity to excuse yourself by telling your host that look here, unfortunately you have cooked the food in a manner which is not acceptable by me because of my religious teachings. No problem. Only the problem is your appetite. Your hunger, what will you do? You can have an alternative, something, vegetables, anything, which is not haram at all. Right?
Yes, yes.
Huzur, my question is regarding human race who has been visited by different prophets, but quite often we hear more on the Middle East. And if you could kindly shed light regarding prophets in Africa, in Soviet Union, and in Australia for us.
You see, the origin of religion did not take place in any certain country as far as the definite knowledge is concerned. The Holy Quran or the traditions of the Holy Prophet do not mention specifically a country where religion began. So it's a moot question, a question which has not been answered. It might have begun anywhere, but it does not mean that human race did not exist before the Adam we know. The human race began its existence hundreds of millions, hundreds of thousands of years before. And we believe that they might have been enlightened by some divine personages whom Allah might have told that you should spiritually educate your people and tell them their obligation to worship me. We have traces of evidence regarding this among the Aborigines of Australia, among the Red Indians of America, and Maya traditions of South America, and according to my study, among Africans in various areas where the so-called demons and gods were originally one God in which the whole mankind believes. So they got mixed up, and the result was that the creation of many things are observed, but some experts who have investigated into this matter have disclosed the fact that everywhere the African traditions lead to one God if you study those traditions carefully and in depth. This is the story which covers the whole world. Recently I have studied the so-called religions of Aborigines. Recently I have studied the so-called religions of Red Indians and the Mayas as well. In every case, this Quranic principle is applicable correctly and precisely. In the beginning, all religions began their journey from revelation. Whether it was verbal revelation or whatever nature it had, all religions began their journey from a divine origin. But they deviated from that into idolatrous practices, etc. Will this satisfy your query?
Yes, sir.
Right,
Yes, sir.
thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Our next question, Huzur, it's funeral ceremonies or rites. Is it right or proper to hold funeral rites? The reason why I asked this question, is it right
Funeral
or
rites.
proper? Yeah, to hold like funeral rites. The reason why I asked this is when my dad died recently, I know from even when I was a child that he being the Ahmadi wouldn't like any rites to be performed after, like not the same day, like a week after the death. They do, some people do that.
Yes.
And so there was a little bit of controversy among the family. Some of my sisters who were married to, the elder ones who were married to non-Ahmadis wanted to. And so
perform those rites and rituals which we do not accept as part of Muslim practices. Is that what the question is?
yes, what? Yes, like
You see, you should have told them in convincing manner, with love and understanding, that the Ahmadi attitude is born out of the fact that these practices were not held by Rasulullah, his companions, and those people of the first or second generation which followed them. While it was they who have to be models for us. This means that these practices are corrupt because the best practices of Islam belong to the first century, at least time of Rasulullah and the following century. In the first 100 years, leaving the 2 centuries alone, in the first 100 years, you will find no trace of the practices which you are mentioning. So you should have told your sisters and others who hold fast to these practices that you are not following the Holy Prophet ﷺ. You are following him. So what right do you have to object? Understand?
yes, it was done that way.
That is the way, the only way we should do it.
It's,
Thank you. Please.
So, this how we like to know whether the present conflict between the Israelis and the Palestinians about the land they have occupied.
About?
Occupied lands.
Occupied lands
In the Middle East.
East. Is it their legal property to take it from the Arabs, or it belongs to the Arabs?
Badly worded question.
Huh?
It's a badly worded question.
But you understand why why
So I think basically what he's trying to find out is about the current occupied land that the Israelis have taken from the Arabs, and he is saying, do they have any right to this land? This is the question that he think he is trying to ask.
the way they have acquired that land was by force. And it is the established principle of all the free world that you cannot change geography of things, geographies of countries by force, unless the superpowers agree to that change in the geography. That is the normal practice of the world we find today. All the right to change geography is appropriated by the Western countries. All the right to demand the previous boundaries of your countries to be reinstated is taken away from us, the poor countries. So this is the principle applicable there. The Western countries accept the use of force by Israel to expand her boundaries. So we can do nothing about it. Wrong, of course. But the present state of politics is might is right. So the might is with them, so they consider themselves to be right. Right? Here I am not talking of that might and right.
Because most of them, particularly the Christians, have been saying, most of the Christians have been saying the land belongs to the Israelis, is their promised land for a long
That
time.
is absolutely false, meaningless. The promised land is the whole world. That is what has been predicted by David. So why don't they give all the countries and the territories over to Israelites? You understand? The promised land is not limited in the Middle East, in Palestine at all. Please.
My third question is, could you please share more
Keeping
light?
count of the questions, mashallah.
Could you please share more light about hypnotism?
Hypnotism.
Yeah.
I believe that hypnotism is correct. Power of mind over other things, that is one question which is dealt with by within the domain of parapsychology. And the power of mind over human minds is a subject which is almost universally accepted. The difference is only about the field of influence. If you think of something intensely, it is very possible that without having any intention to pass it on to the person sitting next to you like him, if both are silent and we are concentrating on some subject, it is very likely that he also catches up with that subject. And the same ideas begin to revolve in his mind, with the result that he thinks they are his ideas, while they are possible that they were yours. So this is hypnotism, unintended hypnotism of which you are not aware. So it's true, it happens.
Thank you.
I can't discuss all the details of different categories of hypnotism, but I think for this question's sake, it's sufficient, isn't it? Thank you. And the time is over. Time is also over.
All right.
Right? So I take leave of you now, please. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.